Anthropic surprised no one and announced Claude 4 today. I think everybody saw it coming. Those of you that joined me on the live stream, I really appreciated hanging out with you guys today. In this video, I want to cover what they announced. I actually have done some tests with some of the new things that they've actually put together that I want to show you. I've also ran my evals on Claude 4, and I did a little bit on Opus and a little bit with Claude 4 thinking, just to give you guys kind of an analysis of where things sit right now. So I have all that, and hopefully this will be a kind of a fun video to go through here. So the first thing we got to talk about is pricing. It's basically what I thought it would be for Claude Sonnet 4, same price as Claude 3.7. Now, Opus, on the other hand, I honestly was not expecting the Opus model, and it is freaking expensive. Running my evals on it is not cheap. It burns money like no tomorrow. So be careful using that model, especially if you're using it in things like RooCode, Klein, or bring your own key situations like with Cursor. They each only have a 200,000 token context window, which very much surprised me. I actually put together some predictions off to the side before I started my stream today, and I predicted they were going to have a 500K or more context window that they were going to announce, but they didn't. So that is just something to keep in mind. Google's still the king of context window. Also, context window is sort of, it's only useful if it's good, and maybe Claude has just found that 200K is a sweet spot for them. Now, here are some of the things that they announced. So extended thinking with tool use, which is in beta. That means that we can do things like web search during extended thinking. So I thought that was kind of interesting. New model capability. So they talked about being able to run tools in parallel. I'm very excited about that because if I've complained about this a lot, and we live in such a great world right now where things are very fast and snappy that I get a little bit spoiled, where waiting for an AI to do something is actually kind of painful at times. So being able to speed that up in any ways, in particular being able to run things in parallel, I think is pretty cool. It was funny when they announced Claude Code being generally available. Uh, Cat Wu stood there for a second. The audience didn't clap. It was like a big awkward pause, and then they started to clap. So I think a lot of people just kind of, that's not an exciting announcement, to be totally honest. I do love Claude Code. I think it's great. But at the same time, like, I think, announcing that it's generally available is just something that not big news. But I highlighted new API capabilities because this is where I want to dig in. So the first thing that they talk about is building better AI agents. And the thing that I am most excited about is MCP connections via the API. I also really love the code execution tool, which I can show you an example of that here in a second, and the file access. So those things are amazing. But even on top of that, being able to cache for up to an hour rather than the 5-minute TTL that they had before. TTL is time to live. So basically, before, things would cache for 5 minutes. Now it caches for up to 60 minutes. I am a little bit interested in how they determine, because it says up to 60 minutes. So I'm always very conscious of the wording of things. So they're deciding to cache it for longer or not. I'm interested in that. So they have this code execution tool, which you can run directly in Claude Code, but it actually also works in the web browser. So for example, we actually have it writing Python to skim through some of the evals. So I was seeing if I could get better looking charts here. I cannot yet, but it's pretty neat that it can able to take a CSV, parse it, combine data in certain ways for the way I want it, and generate charts off of it. I thought that was a really, really cool feature. And they do show it working in Claude Code. Haven't had a use for that yet, but I am interested to try that as well. But this is the thing that I am most excited about. And I know a lot of you may not be as excited about this as I am. But let me give you an example of why I'm excited about this. So this is my product that I work on for my day job. What I do here is I connect to Shopify. Actually have a weird parsing issue here. As you can see, I drop a word. I need to figure that out. But anyway, I'm actually using function calling and connecting to Shopify, pulling and stuff, doing similarity search and a bunch of things on the products that I'm able to get back, because Shopify doesn't actually have a good search API for products. But what I can do here is now inject that into the context. So the person that's like generating whatever they're trying to do here, whether it's just make a single campaign or an entire month plan, they can pull that in. So when I saw this, it made me realize if I'd have had this like 7 days ago, 5 days ago, I probably, instead of building out this entire functionality doing function calling, I would have used this new capability with this MCP connector. And let me show you how that works, because it's actually incredibly, incredibly cool. So I'm over here in VS Code now. I literally took, let me just show you what I did. I took and searched for the 50 best Shopify stores. This is something, I don't know how I feel about it, to be totally honest with you, just to show you. But this is a store that I have no authentication with. I do not work with the store. I didn't even know they existed. In fact, their pants prices are freaking crazy. I don't know who would spend $410 on a pair of pants. But regardless of that, they must be an incredibly like premium brand. But I'm able to set up via the API doing a very, very simple, just a connection. Look at this. I pass this in to the API here, and I'm doing this with Claude 3.5, but it would work with any of them. I pass it in, I name it, and now I'm able to do stuff like this. I just built a little chat interface right here. So you can, if I scroll up here and I can be like, hey, tell me what jeans I have in stock. It calls it, looks for jeans, and it returns a ton of data. Now, then I ask it a little bit about a specific pair of jeans down here. So I'm trying to find my question here. I'll search for, yeah, I called it the hack. So tell me about the hack. And then it returned the hack jeans. That's one I saw on their website. This legitimately unlocks a ton. And it's, I can't even explain, like, if we can get more people like Shopify to create things like this, where it's this simple to connect to it, where they actually have an MCP server at an API endpoint, man, this is going to be, it's going to be awesome. I'm telling you. Anyway, I won't belabor that thought too much more here. Let me get out of these expensive jeans. And then the files API, I have not had a chance to test that. That's also something I'm very interested in, especially when I'm doing anything with like multimodal type work, where I can actually upload a file, use that same file, etc. And we talked a little bit about this, but the prompt caching is huge. I mean, I need to actually figure out how to test this, but I know like just in the sequence of a chat can take 10 or 15 minutes very easily. The fact that that gets extended to an hour honestly should save us a significant amount of money. And it actually says it reduces latency by up to 85%, which I'm also very excited about, because that is a huge deal. Now, before I jump into the actual evals, let me show you some of the things I've generated with Opus today. So this is a drone simulator. So I'm going to go ahead and start the flight, and I'm going to go ahead and just say follow the drone. Now, this is generated all using Opus in Claude Code. And honestly, it does an exceptional job. Like, models have just gotten so good now that it always blows me away. This is the best version of this that I've ever gotten. I've run this across models probably for the last 6 months. Most of them never work at all. This is absolutely great. And we can do all kinds of things where we can control ascent theory, avoidance distance, path smoothing, and so on. I can also just make it go a little bit faster, and it's just going to get to this goal and end here. So I thought that was super, super cool. Now for the next one, I actually need to turn off my camera, so I'm going to go do that here to show you this next demo here. This one is an AR face filter that I ended up making with Claude Code and Opus. And what this can do is I can give myself cat ears. I can make the size of it bigger. I can give myself sunglasses, make those giant sunglasses, dog ears, clown. I'm gonna give myself a clown nose. What do you guys think of my clown nose here? Mustache. So I thought this was interesting. It did a really great job. It has some nice style. Like, I gave it nothing, right? And I wish I could actually give myself a clown nose and a mustache at the same time. So that's kind of a miss. They do have capture photo capability. So very, very, very good stuff there. So let me show you the next one here that I also thought was good. This is a very basic one, but the controls are really nice. It's a top-down shooter. Just really fast paced. The idea behind it is to kind of test. I've got myself a shield now too. We got power up, so see that blue thing around it. Just really, really well done. I've got wave 2 going here. The controls feel pretty good. I lost my shield. Let's see if I can get another one. So pretty neat. Then I always do my pool game. What's interesting is when I did it in Claude Code with Opus, it made it a web version. Traditionally, when I've ever done this, it's always made it a Python version. So that was something that was kind of interesting to me. Now, again, this is pretty. Like, it looks really good. The balls look good. I've got this nice power meter at the bottom, but the physics are atrocious. So for some reason, Opus does not do good 2D physics at all. And I've seen some models be able to do incredibly 2D physics. Like, that's crazy bad. But let me show you something even cooler here, because I had it create a 3D version of it. And this is also Opus. And I just cranked the power meter up here. The physics are phenomenal. And this was done again with Claude Code, and it's beautiful. Again, it's not perfect, like the walls don't go all the way to the end, but one thing I'll show you is like if I knock this in, it actually will let me place the ball back, but there's kind of some little bugs and stuff, so. But honestly, I was blown away by this one. And okay, so the next one that I want to show really, really fast here is this one. So I'm going to do 2 windows side by side, so let's grab this guy here and put this one here. And I have 2 users connected, so this is basically a live whiteboarding where you could host this. This is actually running on a server. It built a full application using Claude Code. No, literally 1 prompt, and this was working. So I have tools where I can like draw circles. Again, it's kind of, you don't see the circle immediately. I can change my colors here. If I want just a draw pen, I can do that. You can see how like real time that is there. It's pretty nice. The colors match. Now I can actually go through and erase stuff. So you can see here, look how that kind of syncs up. Again, I'm on the same computer, so it's going to be very fast. But I love the way this actually turned out. I can hit clear board. It's going to clear it for everyone. You can actually download it. So I thought this was a really, really, really awesome demo that this thing put together for me. So let's go back to my presentation that I put together here and jump into the eval. So there's a lot to talk about on the eval side. First off, surprisingly, Claude 4 and Claude 7 are basically identical. The scores that I get on those are pretty much margin of error constantly, and you can see that in RooCode. Both of the 2 in the middle, the highlighted ones, are RooCode, and there is no change between the 2 of them. Very, very identical scores. But on Claude 3.7 Sonnet Thinking to Claude 4 Sonnet Extended Thinking, it actually had a pretty big boost, and it's taken the top spot by what's actually becoming quite a margin right now, even though it's like 0.5%. It is still a significant little bump there that I wasn't expecting, because traditionally for me, the thinking models have not done as good on my eval set, as you can kind of see from some of the scores here. So thought that was interesting. So yes, right now, Claude 4 Sonnet Extended Thinking in RooCode is the #1 agent and model. To be fair, I haven't been able to run Extended Thinking in Windsurf and Copilot in those yet, so those may actually surpass it when I get a chance to run it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here is in Windsurf. So I've got kind of the same diagram, but I'm just kind of highlighting to talk through it. So Windsurf, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, we get a little bit of a bump, 0.6% between the 2 of them. So slightly a little bit better score there, and significantly better than the Claude 3.5 Sonnet. But it seems like we're zoning in on that mid 70% range now, where the percentages are becoming tighter for this particular eval that I'm running. It's making me think that over time, the variation is going to get so small because we've reached kind of the complexity ceiling that I might have to rethink my eval structure. But either way, this is a great way for me to kind of understand how things are working with coding agents. Now, Opus did not do as good. So it's expensive to run. It takes a little bit longer because it's slower. I ran it in Cline and Roo. RooCode actually beat out Cline by a decent amount here over the 3 attempts that I did very consistently. But it still, Opus ran in line with Claude 3.7 Sonnet and Claude 4. So I don't think it's worth paying for it as a coding agent, like as the actual worker. I need to test it as like an architect or an orchestrator or something like that, because it might actually have more value there. But Honestly, I just think it's probably overkill based on what I saw. Even the demos I showed you, those were all done with Opus just to kind of see what the best of the best was. And I would arguably say Claude 4 Sonnet Extended Thinking might be better. I need to run that full suite with that as well when I get time. I also added Cursor in here just to kind of be able to evaluate that. Cursor is, from a Claude 4 standpoint, one of the it's better than Klein, but and better than Copilot, but worse than RooCode and worse than Windsurf. So it's kind of like middle of the pack. I'll start introducing more Cursor uh, eval runs in here as I go forward, but it is slightly better than Claude 3.5 Sonnet in Windsurf, like slightly better, and it is kind of significantly, I wouldn't say 2.5% worse than Claude 4 Sonnet in Windsurf, and about slightly less than a Claude 4 Sonnet in RooCode, so 0.5% there. The other thing I wanted to introduce here is I've got a Claude 4 Sonnet in Claude Code, and then I did Claude 4 Sonnet and Copilot. Now, Claude Code is the orange bar here. I did manually switch it. So I went into models and I forced it to be Claude 4 Sonnet. And I was surprised that it only scored a 67.8%. To be honest, I thought this one was going to be top of the chart. So I need to do more testing on it. But in 3 runs with it, very consistently between the 67.6 and 67.9% score on this thing. And I don't quite know why it's not performing as well as some of the other agents. It could be the way I'm prompting, because my prompt has been kind of tuned more originally for RooCode. So it might just be a prompting thing that I need to kind of work on there. So caveat in that one, but I am putting that out there with the current prompt that I'm using for these evals. Claude Code is actually performing kind of middle of the pack-ish here, which kind of surprised me. And then Claude 4 Sonnet Copilot, take that one with a big grain of salt, because honestly, I feel like Copilot was just overwhelmed today. Like it kept stopping and rate limiting me and erroring out. So I did get it to complete, and it did score, right in the Claude 3.5 Sonnet range for RooCode. So pretty consistent to, I would say, a good model, but just not extraordinary. Especially when you look at if you look up here at the top at Claude 3.7 Sonnet in Copilot being 72.7%. I'm skeptical of what's going on with Copilot right now. There just might be some load there. So I've purposely calling that one out because I do think I want to rerun that one, but I don't expect it to substantially change. And maybe the last thing I want to touch on here before we shut out this video is I have been actually testing this Devstrill model by Mistral AI, and it's actually making a pretty good appearance at 58%, which is one of the first small models that I've ever been able to get to run end to end. And I'll just jump back over to their website real quick. The interesting thing to me is the benchmarks that they show here kind of feel in line, because this parallel test time compute seems to be the thing that bumps it up quite a bit. And I need to spend a little bit of time understanding what that is, how to activate it, and fully make sure that I'm taking advantage of that in my evals. Because as far as I know, there's no configuration that I can just like turn on and make that work, at least in RooCode or something like that. So if anyone knows that, I would love to know in the comments below. So my assumption is my scores are probably in line with what would be expected. Because if you look at Claude 3.7 Sonnet here, where it's showing that it should be a significantly bump, but really what we're seeing is a more kind of straight across, like very similar scores there. And then if we come down here to this one, this is a new one that we actually discovered in my live stream today, which is called Terminal Bench 2.5. I'm very interested in this, but I'm also a little bit nervous about them publicly releasing the tasks that's happening there, because I'm worried that models will start picking those up. But it does show that there is a pretty much a identical score here between Claude 3.7 and Claude Sonnet 4. So that might be more oriented to kind of the scoring that I'm actually getting in the tests that I run. So anyway, very, very exciting. It's one of the things that I've been expecting for probably 6 months now. I was surprised it took them so long to get to Claude 4. but I will be hammering on it extensively over the next couple days. In addition, especially now that it's in Claude Code, which I will say, I was surprised to see Opus in Claude Code, especially with my Mac subscription. And I ran a bajillion tests with Claude Code. And I did not hit a single limit, but I am on the $200 a month plan. And I literally had 3 versions of Claude Code running, cranking through things for me. It was crazy today, just trying to get as much of this progress as I could on these evals. All right, that's what I'm excited about with Claude 4. Super pumped about the MCP stuff. I would love to know if you guys are excited about that too, if it's just me and my weird world. Anyway, if you happen to make this far, I wouldn't mind liking and subscribing to this video. It helps me a lot. I'm closing in on 12K subscribers, which is just astronomical to me. When I started doing this for fun, I didn't think I'd ever get to that. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day and see you next time. Peace out.